The weather is incredible in Warroad today for this 18th annual Hockey Day Minnesota out at the Warroad Athletic Complex. We welcome you back inside our Tria Orthopedic studio as our coverage of Hockey Day continues. Well, Neal Broten is one of the most talented and decorated players in state history. Neal led Roseau to the state tournament multiple times in the late 70s. He went on to be a national champion, an Olympic gold medalist, and of course a Stanley Cup champion. We're hearing why Neal is one of the most respected players of his time.
Way back when the boys used to play on the streets, it wasn't this kind of summer weather. It was generally 15, 20, sometimes 30 below. But Neal started skating maybe at about 3 years old. When he got to be in third grade, they moved him up to the 5th and 6th grade league. So he always playing over his head, so to speak. It was a really cold winter night, and Neal hadn't been home yet from Saturday morning league. And I stepped outside, I could hear somebody crying, and all of a sudden I thought, God, that's Neal coming home from the rink. And he had denim jeans on, and they were hard as a rock. He made it about halfway, and there he sat with his stick and his skates, and he was just sitting in the snow. He was all in. Brian Erickson lived one house down here. They were friends all their life.
My high school memories are really terrific because we had some really good teams, and playing with Neal and Aaron Broten. My senior year, I got to play with them the whole year, and we never lost a game in this rink our last 2 years. And I don't know if there's ever been another line where 3 guys on the same line all ended up playing in the NHL. But Aaron and Neal were obviously more successful at the NHL level than I was, but I mean, I still played 350 games.
I'll never forget this. The day I could sign Neal, he couldn't be in a player's house until 8 in the morning. I was sitting out there in a cold Roseau morning, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, in my car, freezing. No one was going to get the door before I got there. But Neal was a laid-back kid, didn't get any problems. Good team guy, tremendous talent.
Neal Broten received the first ever Hobey Baker Award, and after the season, joined the North Stars, playing a major role in their run for the Stanley Cup.
Neal Broten was a special talent. He's one guy I can tell you that played for me for 10 years that I never, ever brought up for a trade. I never want to trade the kid. He's one of my favorite guys. The thing of a good pro is he plays the game to make you as a fan think you could play like that, or it looks easy. Neal makes the game look easy.
When you say Neal Broten, I think best teammate I ever had. Neal was genuinely more pleased when you scored than when he scored. And the most unselfish player, and a gifted player too. He goes to New Jersey. He's the backbone of that Stanley Cup champion team. I would take Neal Broten or 2 on any team I was ever associated with.
He could dissect the game in his own mind really, really well. And he had the speed to be able to translate it into the game to get people to do what he wanted.
I tell people Neal was probably one of the most unselfish players I've ever played with. I remember one game, they had pulled the goalie, and Neal could have shot it in the net pretty easily, but he waited for me and gave me a pass, and so I mean that's the type of player he was. Very unselfish and always looking after the other guys first.
He just had this way of just being very cool and calm, but then going out there and very gifted. And once Bob Gainey got here, he's like, start watching Neal on the ice. That's how you move. That's how you play defensively. You're available. I was glad he was around. He was really good for me, helped me out a lot.
He's a native of Roseau, Minnesota, and a former hockey great with the University of Minnesota and the Minnesota North Stars. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hockey Hall of Famer Neal Broten.
Neal Broten, a very popular name here in the state of Minnesota.